to have these saluted.
Everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I get a motion to return to the public meeting.
Second.
Mr. Blackett.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Nakima. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Chandler.
Here.
Mr. Trice here.
Here.
Mr. Jackson Myers.
Here.
Mr. Bender. Here.
Through the chair, we are bringing more chairs, so I'm sorry. Buildings and Grounds is bringing more chairs, so I'm short.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's meeting. Your presence here tonight signifies your commitment to the students of the Lakewood School District. I would like to congratulate Lakewood High School, Lakewood Middle School, Clifton Avenue Grade School, and LG Clark. As of June 30th, 2018, the following schools, both schools will be exit August and High School College. Thanks to the hard work, dedication, and commitment of all the students, staff, and administration. So thank you. Can we give you another round of applause for all the principals, and administrators, and teachers who are present tonight. So what they have accomplished, they have all of those schools have accomplished proficiency of English language arts, math proficiency, and they've met all their goals for student growth and math in both of those. So according to for class size for high poverty school districts, a high poverty school district means a district in which 40% or more of the students are at risk. So what is an at-risk? At-risk pupil means those resident pupils from households with household incomes at below the most recent federal poverty guidelines available as of October 15th of the pre-budget year multiplied by 1.85. So that means kindergarten classes must maintain a full day kindergarten with a teacher's aide for every classroom, and the maximum number of students shall not exceed 21. It doesn't mean they have to have 21 students in class, it means they cannot exceed 21 students. And grades 1 through 3 cannot exceed 21 students. Grades 4 and 5 cannot exceed 23 students. And grades 6 through 12 cannot exceed having 24 students in a class. So the number of certified staff and class size for bilingual ESL, according to New Jersey Administrative Code, districts should hire the appropriate number of bilingual and ESL certified staff to ensure that class sizes do not exceed the number indicated in the following chart. Class sizes are based on the grade level, the program type, and the English language proficiency. The class size maximum allows teachers to organize their classroom to provide research-based interventions. In most cases, class sizes should fall well below the class size maximum. So in grades K to 1, you should not have more than 21 students in a bilingual classroom. And in grades 2 to 12, you should have no more than 18 students if there are students in the classroom with limited or interrupted formal education. So what I've done is I have taken from grades through K through 12, I've done an analysis And I've looked at listed all the classrooms and how many students they have in every single classroom throughout the district. So I've listed here Spruce Street, there's Pine Elementary. So I've listed every single class. I'm not going to go through every single class and how many numbers of students they have. So I've done a summary at the end of each one. So in kindergarten, we have 4 kindergarten classrooms out of 18 that are over the required maximum of 21 students. And the remaining classes are at or near the maximum of 21 students. So then I've done, for first grade, there's analysis. The average is 17, 21, 18 students. And the class maximum is 21, so we should not exceed 21 students in every first grade classroom. So in first grade, there are 5 first grade classes out of 20 that are over the required maximum of 21 students. And the remaining classes are at or near the maximum of 21 students. In second grade, the maximum class size should exceed no more than 21 students. The average is between 18 and 21. In some schools, they fell below. In second grade, there are 3 second grade classes out of 20 that are over the required maximum of 21 students. The remaining classes are at or near the maximum of 21 students. So we did the same thing for third grade. There were a couple there's one bilingual class that has 27 students. The maximum number of students we should not exceed 21 students in every classroom for third grade. So in third grade, there are 12 third grade classrooms out of 19 that are over the required maximum of 21 students. The remaining classes are at or near the maximum of 21 students. We did the same thing for fourth grade. For fourth grade, we have larger classes. There are some students sitting in a room with 26 students, 27 students, 25 students. The maximum is 23 students. So in fourth grade, we have 5 fourth grade classes out of 19 that are over the required 23 students. The remaining classes are at or near 23. We did the same thing for 5th grade. We have Oak Street that has a large number of students in the classes. We have 27, 26, 30 students in one class at Oak Street, and the class size maximum is 23 students. So in 5th grade, we have 8 5th grade classes out of 19 that are over the required 23 students. The remaining classes are at or near 23. So in the class sizes in grades 6 through 12, there are just too many because in 6 through 8 and 9 through 12, they go by period, so we'd be here forever going through class periods. So the maximum class size in grades 6 through 12, you can have 24 students. So at Lakewood Middle School has 194 classes with more than 24 or more students, and 57 classes that are at or near the 24 student mark. So at Lakewood High School, their schedule is much more complex to do. They have an AB schedule days. They have the 3 career academies, the Freshman Academy, the Business Academy, and the STEAM Academy. They have 12 different pathways within the academies. They have the Perkins program, and they have over 100 students attending vocational school, so it's a little more difficult to figure out how many students were in each class. So at this time, the recommendation, in order for the district to continue the success that has experienced over the past 6 years, the district needs to maintain all of its dedicated staff members. After all, this is why schools have exited focus on priority staff. Does anyone on the board have any questions? Okay. So now we're going to have Mr. Finger.
Through the chair, the statute that is administered, the statute administrative code section, it is not negotiable. The numbers of 21, again, as Ms. Winters has stressed, but the administrative code makes it even clear is a maximum, and for the other grades, the number she gave. So this will be available on our website later tonight. Mr. Trishada will put it on, if not tonight, tomorrow. And we do thank Ms. Winters perhaps explain to the public. The teachers were asked and the principals were asked to fill out some forms and things for you.
This is correct. We had every teacher in the district fill out a form stating how many students they have in their class. Did they agree with having an increase in the number of students in their class. We also had the principals fill out a rationale. They agree that they need the same number of staff members in their building, and I have those forms on file.
Also, considering this a law case, because in fact that's what it is, our students have a right, a legal right to a thorough and efficient education. As I recently put in a footnote in a filing with the state of New Jersey, it is my opinion that this is becoming, if you will, a possible civil rights action. I've heard that here before, but actually I am finding the law perhaps to support this. But and let me explain that. The inappropriate funding of our public schools, it inadvertently at best, is having a negative effect on one population, and that being 99% minority and 100% free and reduced lunch. To continue like this, it is not my final legal opinion, and I probably won't be here when I give my final legal opinion, but I will give it regardless. Inadvertently, if this would happen in another district, if this would happen, for example, in Marlboro or Toms River, the inadvertent effect would not be as strong because the population there is not what our population, which is our strength, which is again, the statistics say it, 99.blank% minority, 100% free and reduced lunch. So the time has come to consider legal options here. There is a case going on. I do want to thank Mr. Lang, who's one of our teachers. It's been going on since 2014. We did join as participants in that case, again, prior to my time. Why we're just mere participants, I'm not sure, but that is the statute, and we did file some pleadings with the court, with the commissioner, but it's getting to the point where we are not compliant, as you see, which has a net effect on hurting, and that's not because of one community over another, but inadvertently, at best, it appears strongly that one community is not compliant, or one school district, that being the Lakewood Public Schools, is not able to comply with that section of the code. I'm done at this time.
Now, Mr. Finger.
We felt the best way, Mr. Finger, and I'm hoping we're translating, yes. Mr. Finger has previously presented a budget analysis to the public. Unfortunately, many people were not here. We did put it on our website, but in meeting with various unions in this district on Friday, there were some questions that were asked, and we thought it best the public and everyone, and that includes our valuable and cherished staff, know the answers to some common misconceptions. So Mr. Finger, who put together the budget with help of others, we're going to ask him a few questions so we can get past the fake news and get to the real news about what our budget includes. So we prepared some questions. Again, we're going to highlight it for you. This was previously presented, but for example, one of the questions we were asked by the scrivener of emails and text messages was, is there money in our budget for new books? Mr. Finger, could you please point to the public where in your presentation, please, in your presentation, if you need the clicker, we'll gladly get you a clicker. Well, we need them to see. You know, they need to know. Could we have the clicker, please?
Jim would be on page 6.
Okay, you're going to get your own clicker. Okay. So the question is there any money in this budget, which we were asked by staff on Friday. This was previously presented, so please show us where there is money for new textbooks in the proposed budget.
On the line marked textbooks on the appropriations slide, you'll see the proposed budget 2018-19 is $875,296 textbooks, $448,000 increase. And most of that increase is to replace our, let's see, I'll make sure I got it right, our 10-year-old Spanish textbooks and 18-year-old health education textbooks.
If you hear these numbers, make sure you hear them. because while you're calling Senator Singer, who, by the way, there are letters here from Senator Singer, he could not be here tonight due to a prior engagement, but there is an increase of $400,000+ regarding textbooks. Again, what were the numbers, please? Of the years of books? Look at your chart.
It's, this is to replace 10-year-old high school Spanish textbooks and 18-year-old kindergarten through 5th grade health education textbooks, which should have been replaced quite a while ago.
Okay. Mr. Finger, is there money, these were questions we were asked on Friday, is there money for supplies in our new budget? And I'm just learning there's not enough headsets. So we're going to ask, poor Anna, to come up and ask, again, you can summarize, we do have headsets, and they are translating, but we don't have enough headsets, and we are Lakewood, and we are somebody, so you will summarize. Is there, okay, good, you can do it from there. Is there money in our budget
¿Hay dinero
for
en nuestro presupuesto
supplies?
para
Well, for next year, we have budgeted right now $796,000 for supplies. It's a little less than we had budgeted
Hemos
this
hecho
year,
propuestas
but it's based on actual
como
real
diseño de la
expenditures.
pizarra.
And that comes out to approximately $132 a student. And I will just tell you, in my previous district, where I retired from, a rather wealthy district in Bergen County, they only spent $110 a student.
So we're proposing, in short, $132 per student
$132
for supplies.
para los supplies de la
That's in addition to 900,000 more in textbooks.
más
400, I'm sorry, 400 something more in textbooks.
400,000 para los libros.
Mr. Finger, again, based on questions that we were asked, I wish everyone could hear them. We are live streaming this because, believe it or not, people were told not to come to this meeting for some reason.
Estamos grabando esto porque
Because truth kills. So let's get the facts out. Payroll. Mr. Finger, what is the payroll number?
Okay, again, on the slide here, you see you go up the
Aquí van a ver
payroll
la
line.
pizarra.
We have $46,108,663. Now, as we discussed at that meeting the night we introduced the budget, that does not include funding for new or vacant positions or raises, because we're still waiting for an answer from the state on those questions as to what we'll be getting or what we can negotiate for. But that $46 million figure ensures that, as I said, that every single person currently working for the district will have a job next year.
Todas las personas que están trabajando para el distrito van a tener trabajo el año que viene.
And just in case you didn't hear that, let's have a hand. The $46 million
46 millones de dólares.
ensures every staff member who is currently working for the
Asegura que
Lakewood
todos
Public
los
Schools
miembros de la escuela sigan trabajando
to continue working next year.
para continuar trabajando el año que viene.
There is no money built into that number for raises
No hay dinero para aumentos
because we have written to the state, and that is a matter of public record, asking
Le hemos escrito al
for
Estado
several months,
pidiendo
what number can we negotiate with the
porque no
staff?
podemos negociar.
Because we can sit here and make up percentages, and then if we don't have money, that would be in bad faith.
Podemos presentarnos aquí, inventar números, pero si no, no tenemos buena fe.
We also have a prior commitment, I just want to check if it's still a current commitment, of the superintendent of schools, who is the only person at the local level who can provide RIF letters, reduction in force letters. Mrs. Winters, are you intending to RIF any teachers, employees before the deadline of May 15th?
No.
También la señora Winters ella hizo una promesa de que no va a dejar salir a votar a ninguno de los empleados para el nuevo año.
I just need Mr. Finger to explain what the seniority and tenure RFP went out to, that was being awarded tonight, because there seems to be some misunderstanding.
Necesito que Mr. Finger explique el tenure y el senioridad.
The seniority and tenure consultant has nothing to do with the reduction in
No
force.
tiene que ver nada
That's
con
not being
reducir el
contemplated.
esfuerzo de nuestro
This goes back a
trabajo.
few months ago, the LEA, as part of the negotiation process, asked
El
us for a
LEA
seniority
de
list. And we realized at the time that the seniority list was the produced by our computer system, our personnel system, was incorrect in many areas based on certifications the teachers had. We don't have the manpower or staffing within the district to do this kind of project.
Si no
It'll probably
tenemos
take the better part of a
trabajadores
year,
en
so that's why we
distrito,
went out for an RFP.
por eso es que estamos.
Let me make
And,
it.
oh yes, and the other point is what the CUSAC, the new CUSAC rules for next year require a lot more information on the position control roster, which is also kind of tied in with the seniority and tenure.
Eso también tiene que ver con el tenure y con la señoría.
So the people who are affected most are staff, and thank you for those
Lo
who
que afecta
came,
más es los
and those
miembros
who are
del
watching the
personal.
live stream, which
Eso
we
gracias a todos
have,
los que han venido
and those who are not, we will post
y
this
los
all
que
on
no
the
están, esto va a
website
estar
immediately
en
by
nuestro
tomorrow.
website mañana.
The only reason we went out for an RFP for this seniority listing is because we need to have a list so we can
Necesitamos tener una
negotiate
lista para
with the
negociar
union.
con la unión.
Of course, we hope they attend.
Ojalá que
But the fact is,
atiendan.
we cannot do that because our internal system was not producing the seniority list. But that is not for riffing, because the only
La lista
person
que hemos
who
hecho
can
de
riff
senioridad
people
no es
at
para
the
votar a
local
nadie.
level is Mrs. Superintendent Winters, who has committed she is not. Now, I
La señora
want
Winters ha dicho que no va a dejar a nadie.
legally a footnote, because that is law. I will tell you that I have yet to discover law on this, and I've done extensive research.
He hecho mucho.
However, if the state chooses to riff people, I'm asking for a motion and a second. Should the state decide to riff people,
Pero si el Estado se decide
we will immediately
dejar
seek
ir a la
immersion
gente,
relief in a court of law, whether it be Superior Court
inmediatamente
or
vamos
the
a la
Office of
corte.
Administrative Law. Is there a motion?
¿Hay moción?
Motion, second.
Pasaron la moción.
Roll call.
Quiere decir que si el Estado quiere votar a algunos de los trabajadores, maestras, trabajadores, ellos van a ir a la corte.
Yes.
Porque la superintendente ha dicho que este año no nadie se va, todo lo que eran, porque necesitamos maestros para todos los niños. Están pasando la moción, están de acuerdo.
So please let the people who are here, yes, thank you.
Gracias, gracias.
This board
Esta junta
is
es,
behind our staff.
está detrás de nuestros
Despite
empleados.
emails, despite text messages, we are here for the students.
Estamos aquí para
And
los
this is the first
estudiantes.
time that I know,
No es la primera vez que yo sé.
and you can write text messages about me, I have thick skin.
Pueden mandar todos los textos que quieran de mí, yo tengo
But the bottom line is, this is the first time I remember since 1983,
La primera vez que
when
iba
I graduated here, that a Board of Education has said publicly, and Doctor, you were on the board at one point, well, this is the first time the board has committed and the superintendent has committed, as far as I
Esta es
remember,
la primera vez que yo me
not to
acuerdo,
riff any
que
teachers.
yo me acuerdo que la superintendente y la Junta ha dicho que no va a votar a nadie de los trabajadores.
Now, of course, I point to my comrade, the state monitor, and of course,
El monitor del
he
Estado,
is, and again, we don't always agree.
no se está de
However,
acuerdo, pero
he is here to report to the state.
Pero
We're going to report ourselves because I don't trust messengers. But I will be glad to see 3 attorney generals, as they typically do, when if they think of riffing our staff, because our staff is not negotiable. Is that correct,
nuestros
Board?
empleados no han negociado, tienen todos que quedarse.
Now, these are some of the questions that were asked on Friday, but I don't see the person who asked them here, who got the answers on Friday. Perhaps she did not communicate that in various
La persona que hizo la
text
pregunta viene en varios
messages,
textos,
telling
no la veo
people
aquí,
that they
diciendo a la
are
gente,
pawns, telling people
diciendo a la gente
that
que
the
son
public, the
los están usando,
superintendent, the board attorney, and the board of education do not work in the best interest of our public school students.
el abogado, la
You
superintendente,
go find one other board of education whose superintendent has committed, and she could be taken to court for this. I'm not inviting you be taken to court, don't get nervous. but Mrs. Winters has publicly stated for months
La señora Winters
she is
ha
not
públicamente
signing
dicho,
one RIF
no
notice.
va a firmar
So please
ninguna
tell
carta
them
para
we are
votar
not going to
ningún
be
empleado.
their pawns. Thank you. Are there any questions through the chair as to the budget? And we do have time for, again, we'll probably, if anyone has any questions as to the budget,
¿Alguna pregunta acerca del presupuesto?
because even though we've talked about this and said this and printed this and texted this and emailed this, apparently we have not emphasized, which could be our fault. So, yes, Fred.
Just a question, please. You indicated that the superintendent would not be doing any RIFs. But the state could possibly do it?
I do not represent the state.
No, yeah, but you...
What I have heard in scuttlebutt, in text messages, I don't do Twitter or whatever it's called, but the fact is, there are some ruminations out there that the state could RIF. I don't feel there's any legal basis for that, but if they attempt to do that, we will be in court with them within 48 hours. So I've only heard scuttlebutt, I don't know if it's true. Dr. Rush, who has worked for the state and actually served with prestige in where he was, do you believe the state can RIF people? Doctor?
I can't translate and give my microphone away.
Okay, so we'll give them ours. Give her, come sit right here, you can sit here at the left.
First of all, the superintendent of schools takes an oath of office. Part of that oath is
La
using
superintendente
enough
de la
money
escuela ha cogido una,
to run the schools,
correr la escuela
and you have too many staff members
y muchos
There is the
miembros de
superintendent's
la escuela.
responsibilities
Es la responsabilidad
to
del
send
superintendente.
RIF notices prior or on May 15th.
Tiene que
If that
mandar
doesn't
cartas
happen, the
antes de
superintendent
mayo 15
is
si
in
la
violation
sin trabajo.
of the state constitution.
But Mike, the superintendent is saying we don't have enough staff.
You asked me a question.
Yeah.
Okay. The superintendent is in violation of the state constitution in terms of sending RIF notices. Now, in Lakewood situation, as my brother said, what will probably happen is the Department of Education will say to your state monitor, you have to overturn the board's decision and the superintendent's decision, and you have to say to the superintendent, you must send RIF notices.
And then, thank you, Mike. And then the superintendent is committed, and
Y si eso pasa, la superintendente está
we agree. In Lakewood's case, by no stretch of the imagination is anyone saying we have too much staff. In fact, what the superintendent, and only she can decide in consulting with her teachers, who, by the way, the superintendent did send out a survey to principals, and we thank them for completing it, and teachers, not one came back saying we have too much staff. Many came back saying we have too little staff.
That is not the issue. They're not going to sit down. I don't want to.
No, I enjoy this.
But what has to happen is we are still faced with a budget shortfall of $28 billion plus.
Nos faltan
So the state is
28
saying
millones de dólares.
we have to, well, the state must fund thorough and efficient education. We know that.
Right.
Nosotros sabemos eso.
But it perhaps will happen not to the tune that we would like for it to happen. But I think, and this is my personal reason, I believe that the superintendent should send the RIF notice.
Should send?
Should send and wait for the state to come to us and say, okay, we have to provide a thorough and efficient education, and these are the money that we're going to give Lakewood. You and I know that there's no system in New Jersey or in the United States that will not fund thorough and efficient. And based on the charge that we saw earlier, we're still in violation because we have too many kids in classes. So something will happen in Lakewood, and the monitor can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Para que entonces el Estado pueda ver que sí necesitamos el personal que tenemos.
One of the reasons we're having this public discussion, so we don't resort to Twitter or whatever it's called.
Una razón tenemos esta discusión pública
Sorry,
para no
it's not called Twitter, sorry. Mrs. Winters, if you could report to the public who we are beholden to, we represent public school students and taxpayers. Did you meet with the county and state office? Please let the public know.
We did, Mr. Finger, Mr. Campbell,
Mr.
and
Finger,
I
Mr.
met with the
Campbell,
county
yo
office,
hablamos con
and we are in
la oficina
agreement
del county,
that there will
estamos
be
de
no
acuerdo
rifts.
que no va a haber bajo de
So we are in agreement with the state, there will be no rifts.
The state has,
no van a dejar a votar empleados.
again, has agreed there will, I wasn't at the meeting, Monitor Shafter was, with the county office, and from what I'm hearing, they are not telling Mrs. Winters at this point to riff. Again, she is not riffing regardless, but you are right, we are the budget monitor, I wasn't at the meeting, but was that what you heard at the meeting you were at?
Mr. Finger, did you hear that at the meeting?
To be completely honest, what I did here at the meeting was Mr. Schachter's boss, Mr. Forney, say that if the district wouldn't riff people, that he would riff them.
I did not hear that.
No, I heard Mr. Forney say that they would, if riffs were necessary, that he would
We
instruct
were
the
here the
state.
next day, and we did not hear.
No, we've not been told to riff anybody, but that the state, if they felt necessary, would do the riffs.
Mr. Shafter, monitor, if you, we're not asking you for the state position, because we don't know it, I don't think you know it. But
I will say that I have a different recollection than Mr. Finger regarding what was said
Yo
at that
tengo
meeting.
otros recuerdos diferentes
And
de lo
that
que
while there was
ocurrió
discussion
acerca de la discusión
of what
que
would
tuvimos
happen
en el condado.
If there was not sufficient funding,
Que si
the
no había
word was,
suficiente
then
fondo,
yes, you have to riff.
Entonces sí se
But
tiene que
the
bajar.
goal of everyone there is to have sufficient funding by May
La
15th.
meta es tener
There was
suficiente
discussion
fondo
also
para
that the current year staffing is considered thorough and efficient.
para tener
So
suficiente
to reduce
empleados.
staffing at any significant
No se
number
puede reducir,
would not be thorough and efficient.
no sería eficiente.
And that's why everything is being done possible, if
Todo lo
possible,
posible se está
to have
haciendo
the budget funded
para tener
for May
presupuesto
15th, so there will be no necessity to issue any kind of RIF letters, and then in June rescind them, and then in that time you lose some of your best staff. that was
Porque lo que pasa es
positioned.
que en mayo 15 entonces mandan una carta a los empleados que le van a dar sin
so while there seems to be differing recollections, which never shocks me here,
Parece que ya se fueron.
but nevertheless,
Tratando de evitar eso.
Monitor Shafter, who is the conduit to the state, but does not make the decision. He works for the state, but let me just say this so you hear this. Monitor Shafter, Fred, give me a moment. Fred, Monitor Shafter, if you could, have you reviewed this
¿Ya ha
budget?
mirado este
Yes.
presupuesto?
Do you agree with the local administrators that 28.5 million plus
¿Tú estás de
is
acuerdo
needed
con los
for this
administradores
budget?
de 8 millones?
Through your analysis?
Through my analysis, the budget now, my budget is different than the budget that's up there. My budget includes money for salary increases for staff members.
Oh, let's have it here. Let's have it here. Come to our meetings and you learn.
My budget includes filling all vacancies.
Filling all vacancies. How many vacancies are there? How many vacancies?
I believe it's about 23.
So Mr. Shafter, Monitor Shafter, includes raises. Of course, we don't know what that number is. This is like Jekyll and Hyde here. But
That's correct.
but we do. There's about 13 vacancies now. Is that 23? So your budget includes funding those 23 vacancies?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
The new preschool program.
A new preschool program. You might think you're at Hanukkah or Christmas early, Monitor Shafter. It's okay.
There were lines in the initial budget submitted to the department that are higher than necessary. So by decreasing those lines, we were able to put money in for these other items. And my number as of today is $28,643,000.
Mi número es
28,643,000. Is that right? And $263. So some of you in the audience might say, as I would, the board is saying, the state monitor is saying, so state monitor, who I promised I would not put on the spot, but just asking about the process.
Well, now that it's got me talking, I want to start. So
Go for it.
So Ms. Winter shared the information that was presented in the PowerPoint last week. And I was able to manipulate the numbers and analyze them. And why I'm not giving exact numbers, there was a number under 30 that was discussed at the state meeting. Depending on how you look at Ms. Winter's numbers, whether you have no individual class may exceed the 21, 23, or 24, or whether it's the average class can exceed that, the averages. Based on what I did, the most numbers that I believe you could reduce and still stay within, if you stay within the averages, it's about 8.
Estás hablando acerca de mantener las tasas a 21, como dijeron, a 18, como dijeron.
If you say that no class may exceed the number 21, 23, 24, then the answer is 0. As far as reduction in staff.
David, I don't mean to be rude, and I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So, and again, I appreciate your being forthright with the public, and those who are here, thank you for coming, and those who are watching, and those who are in the parking lot. So, what are you saying? Are you saying, on the one hand, and again...
What I'm saying is, if you use averages, the average for all of your kindergarten classes shall be 21, your average as opposed to maximum. In other words, some classes may be 22, 22, other classes may be 18. When you average that all out, at the elementary level, I think it's a reduction of 4. There's no...
La cuestión es que están hablando acerca de que no debe haber más de 21 niños por salón, niños 24.
What is the interpretation?
Because all the classes are so large at the middle school, I can't recommend any reduction. And in reality, there should be staff increases, but there's no classrooms to put them in.
Well, what happens, wait, excuse me, in your budget, which we would love to see, in your budget, is there the modulars for the middle school that were talked about?
In my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion.
Well, that's all we can ask.
The new construction that's going to be planned for the middle school should be funded by a bond referendum. There's no money in there. There's no money that we don't even have a price for that yet. If it fails, it should be put out for a bond referendum the second time. And then if that fails, then the Board of Ed can go to the department, and the department can order that the construction commence, and there would be a tax increase to fund it.
Sería entonces un aumento en los taxes.
And what about the textbooks? And most of that in a referendum would be funded by the school construction fund. So if it costs $3 million, let's say it costs $3 million.
Which is not the actual number.
I don't even know what it is, but the actual number might be $1.5 million by the time we receive our funding from the state for their share of it.
There's a question by Mr. Treiser about textbooks.
No, you're keeping the line item of textbooks. Okay. Replacing those old
10-year-old, 18-year-old to be exact.
Hay libros que tienen 10 años o más.
The current line item in 17-18 for textbooks is the final lease purchase payments for textbooks that were previously purchased. So the new line item for textbooks is only $400,000 is needed for textbooks to fund the new textbooks. So yes, it is in there to fund the new textbooks.
So you agree, again, this is good because we're working collaboratively for the students of Lakewood until we get some person in Trenton who you await and we await, but you are agreeing that we're getting new textbooks.
The budget that I'm recommending includes new textbooks.
Okay, that's what I just want to be be clear.
David,
That's good, right?
Estamos buscando bastante propuestas.
Now again, this is just, let's not fool each other. This is Monitor Shafter's opinion. He doesn't sign the check.
Él no firma el cheque.
So, but I hope, as he always has been, he will stick to his opinion, stick to the truth, as he has done.
Y hacer la verdad como siempre lo ha hecho.
David, what's the accepted interpretation of the maximum? Is it the average or is the maximum in these questions?
Well, that's a legal question.
The point is, the difference between maximum and average is only about, I think, 9 positions.
No, but David, I think he's asking, you're right, it's really minuscule, but it's still something. The administrative code says the number, but I think we're really talking about something that once I can speak with David, and again, I'm not reviewing because I don't do budgets, but we can, I'm sure, come to agreement, since on the one hand, I'm not too smart, on the one hand, I'm hearing we need all our staff.
Nada más estamos escuchando que necesitamos todos los miembros de los empleados que tenemos.
I forwarded all this information to the county office.
Yo he mandado toda la información a la oficina del county.
Yeah, but you believe we need all our staff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's all simple. So we all agree we need all our staff, so that is the bottom. I can't follow all the extrapolations, interpretations. Okay. Are there any more questions as to the budget? Again, we are having a budget meeting. We are having a budget meeting on May 7th. But we wanted to clarify information for all of the staff, all of the public. Please get this information out, which was given to Mrs. Shaw and Mrs. Leach on Friday. We want to assure the staff that the monitor and the superintendent are recommending all the staff remain. Am I saying that right, David? It might be configured different, but you're not saying reduce any, we need the number of staff.
If we do reduce, it will be no more than 8.
Okay. Okay, just before let's get this clear, because it's really, this is like court, that's what it is. So, witness, I'm so joking, David. There are, just so the public knows, there are 3 people retiring and 7 resignations. That equals 10 voluntarily. And if you're saying 8, which
Less than 10, so yes.
So there you go. So please let everyone know, those who are here and those who live in fear, that there is no reduction. Do you agree now based on that now?
Based on that, yes.
Yes, you agree. Okay, so we've gone through that. Any questions on, yes?
I want to know what's going to happen with athletics, with all the sports programs.
Okay, well, good question. So what I assume, and how are you? I assume what you're meaning, and we're treating this as a court case because we need to get the message to the tribunal. It will be either done or it will be done, but it will be done. Mr. Shafter, does your budget include maintaining all of our sports, all of our coaches, all of our athletics, which are so important to our children? Right?
I believe that both the original budget submitted, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Finger, and the budget that I have worked up still consider that the township will make the same contribution to the school district for the 18-19 school year as they did for the 17-18 school year.
Okay, well, let me say.
Oh, that is correct. I did not put it in mine either.
Well, let me just break the news to you. We have the mayor. Let's have a hand for the mayor. Mayor Lakewood is here supporting the public school children, as I will say, we all agree, he has done throughout his many years on the township committee. So let's have it. However, I do not speak for the mayor, and I will not speak for the township, but to presume things, there's that saying about presume or assume, but I will not go there. As far as I know, and I don't get involved in all this until asked, but I have not seen anything from the township gentlemen saying that they are going to, and I'm not saying they're not, or they are, but I have not seen anything. In fact, I have seen a certification by Mr. Henshaw in a case called Alcantara versus the state that says there is no current intention to fund sport. Am I misquoting that or
No, that's correct.
Okay, so I don't want to put Mayor Coles on the spot because he is a supporter of the public school students, and nor will he be put on the spot. But do we have any confirmation, because I must have missed that one, where the township is saying that they are guaranteeing or ensuring the funding, which they did out of generosity last year? So did I miss that one?
No, last year was a grant.
Right.
We have nothing for this year. That's correct.
So, okay. So Mayor Coles is not going to be asked to answer that unless he wants to. Yes, Glenn, please. On this issue, on the budget.
We were told last year
Nos han dicho el año pasado
the township was not going to do that
que el pueblo
anymore.
no iba a hacer eso otra vez.
I can't perceive how is it that it's not included in
Como que
your
no está
budget,
incluido,
knowing that the township said
Right.
sabiendo que el pueblo
last
dijo que
year
no
we
iba a
were going to do.
volver a dar dinero para los
So
atléticos.
I hope that you reconsider
Ojalá
because in this town,
reconsideren.
athletics is
Este
very
pueblo,
important.
los atléticos muy importantes.
I would ask the board to consider what Glenn says because last year we had to go to the township with our players, if you remember. I think it was June, but I could be off. And not that the township needed to be paid, because I see more township committee members at our games sometimes than I see others. But the township did tell me, and you were there, I think, Glenn, I was there with you, that this is not something we can count on a yearly basis. So our sports, could someone remind me? I can remind myself, 1 second. I believe, but I have many people getting paid, and this is not part of my retainer. Doesn't it cost like $550,000 for sport? What was that number we got from the township?
I think it was 557 plus the 84,000.
557,000 se necesita para los deportes.
So $500,000 plus the football team, I think, was 84,000.
El equipo de fútbol fue
The press was not there that night. They were jumping out of trees, watching other things going on in town. But 557.83 equals actuary 557.83.